I see various people here, and greetings to everyone. Unfortunately, my husband's not here, so you're going to have to deal with my English. We decided, I speak a little Urdu, but not so well, and my accent is funny. So instead of reading some of the couplets in Urdu, I'm just going to read them in English. One of the first things my husband taught me many years ago was Dil ke behlani ko ghali bia khayal chahe. So we'll leave it at that, and the rest will be in English. And, okay. There is also, this is a shorter version for today, but we have made some copies of the entire talk, and apparently it will also be up on the website, and you're welcome to take some later. From Iqbal to Faiz, Essence and Love in Urdu Poetry by Professor Nazir Ahmed. Two great poets, one idolized by his people, the other imprisoned by the same people. Two lovers, one whose love was tethered to the throne of God and the world of man, the other whose love was floating unfettered. Two great minds, one for whom the destination was known, the other who left it undefined. Two reformers, one who stayed within the envelope of his tradition and sought to renew it, the other who broke away from it and looked for solutions outside of the envelope. Two revolutionaries, one who sought to transform individuals and societies through a transformation of the self, the other who sought such transformation on the basis of love alone. Two philosophers, one who sought the principle of movement of a civilization in the discovery and application of divine commands, the other who sought it in the material dialectic of the oppressor and the oppressed. The contrast between Iqbal and Faiz can be as illuminating as a contrast between Plato and Aristotle. It is with the publication of Shar'ri that we see the full flowering of Iqbal's poetry. It is here that we first find his exposition of the idea of khudi. Indeed, the concept of khudi runs as a central theme throughout the life and works of Iqbal. It is impossible to understand the genius of this great man without understanding the concept of khudi. The idea is quoted and misquoted by students and scholars alike, and is more often than not misunderstood. Khudi is not the ego, as some European scholars have misunderstood it to be. The ego is that aspect of the nafs that bestows the I on the human personality, referred to in Arabic as anaya, from the word ana, meaning I. The essence of tasawwuf is to conquer the ego, cleanse the nafs, and achieve surrender of the self without the ego. Iqbal, a self-declared student of Rumi, is certainly aware of the central doctrine of tazkiyah an-nafs. Khudi is not the free will of man. Some scholars have misunderstood Iqbal while comparing him with Nietzsche, the 19th century German philosopher of doom. There are profound and fundamental differences between Iqbal and Nietzsche. In Nietzsche, the free will of man is bereft of the grace of God and dangles unfettered between heaven and earth. In Iqbal, the free will of man is a divine gift that is to be used with justice and balance. Khudi is not the autonomy of man, independent of God's grace. Indeed, such an idea would be unacceptable from an Islamic perspective, as the Quran specifically rejects it in the very first revelation. Thinketh man that he is autonomous? Nay, we will drag him by his forelock. Iqbal would not countenance a thought bereft of divine grace. Khudi is sometimes translated as self. Self, however, is a composite term used for the nafs and all of its attributes, the desirable as well as the undesirable. Thus the self is disposed toward God, but it is also susceptible to the whisperings of evil. The most appropriate term that describes khudi is essence. Man was separated from God, and the essence of man is to find the divine. As the Quran declares it, O humankind, thou art ceaselessly toiling towards God, and thou shalt find him. Iqbal embarks on this quest as a mendicant, seeking guidance each step of the way. In the process, he explores, reaches heights few poets have attained, shares what he can through the eloquence of his poetry. The hidden secret of khudi is La ilaha illallah. And when language fails him, Iqbal falls back on a prayer. O Lord, let everyone witness all that I have witnessed. The eagle and the lotus are the favorite symbols used by Iqbal to capture the reach as well as the sublime beauty of khudi. He invites us on a journey in search of human essence, a journey that takes him to the very gates of Arsh, the divine throne. There he submits his quest as shikwa and is rewarded with jawab shikwa. In Bale Jibril, he dares to ask to see the divine. I desire to hear the divine voice. Thou canst not see. Look how humble is my desire. Like Moses, Iqbal desires to see God, but Iqbal knows the answer from the Quran, you cannot see me. Moses, the great prophet, insists, is rewarded with a glimpse of divine light, which shatters the mountain, and Moses swoons. Iqbal asks, and as a mere mortal, is rewarded with an approach to the gates of Arsh, the divine throne, there to seek his own essence, and is rewarded with jawab-e-shikwa. The greatness of Iqbal has dragged him into the age-old disputes of khida and qadr, of free will versus predestination. It is a dispute as old as historical Islam. It is the genius of Iqbal that he rides both streams of thought, of khida and qadr, and in a transcendent way reconciles the two. Now the word you is used in a number of the couplets, which I'm reading in translation, and I was talking to my husband the other night on the phone. We talk every night, basically. It's morning in India. And I said, well, what is this you in these poems? And he said, that is the ambiguity of a great poet, that it's not clearly defined. So this is from Allama Iqbal. Elevate your essence so high that before every fate, the Lord himself asks you, what is your will? Observe how subtly Iqbal has woven together the concepts of khida and qadr on the canvas of man's essence. The existential essence of man is to discover his own fate. Iqbal does not violate the supreme power of God. Man is asked by a loving and merciful God, but man does not decide. Never in Islamic history has a thinker weaved together so subtly the power and the destiny of man. The essence of man exists in the vast oceans of divine contemplation. This essence, this khudi, is time independent and is to be found in the timeless oceans of Adur. To quote a great awliya, Grand Sheikh Abdullah Pakistani, man's free will is like a fish in the oceans of divine contemplation. This observation at once reconciles autonomy and fate, and clarifies the notions of relative time and timeless time. Man is autonomous only to the extent of his predestination.
मेरी पेशकश का जो मौजू है वो है गिरती हुई कौमों के लिए अल्लामा इकबाल का नुस्खा कीमिया। गिरती हुई कौमों का जो ख्याल मेरे दिमाग में आया वो उनके एक बहुत ही मशहूर और मारूफ शेर से आया। आप सबको वो शेर याद ही होगा। वो है नशा पिला के गिराना तो सबको आता है, मज़ा तो तब है कि गिरतों को थाम ले साक़ी। तो अल्लामा इक़बाल ने अपनी ज़िंदगी वक्फ़ कर दी इसी काम के लिए कि गिरती हुई कौमों को, गिरते हुए लोगों को थामने के लिए।